Hello students, let us continue with the chapter Microorganisms, Friend and Foe. In this session, we will be studying about food poisoning, what is preservation, the different methods of preservation and nitrogen cycle. First of all, food poisoning. Spoilage of food due to the growth of microorganism is known as food poisoning. When we have this spoiled food, it affects our body and leads to vomiting, loose motion, stomach pain, fever, headache, etc. This is because when food is spoiled due to the action of microorganisms, harmful chemicals are released into the food, and this makes the food poisonous and thus affects our health. Therefore, we need to preserve food. The method of preserving food to prevent spoilage is known as preservation, and the substances that are used to prevent this spoilage of food is known as preservatives. Let us now discuss the various methods of preservation. First of all, chemical preservation. Under chemical preservation, let us discuss about sodium benzoate and sodium metabisulfate. These are two chemicals that are available in the market, and it is used for preserving food items such as pickles, jams, squashes, etc. Next is preservation by salting. Salt is a very good preservative. It is rubbed on fish, meat, etc. and sun dried. This is to prevent the growth of microorganisms and to reduce the moisture content. Sugar is another good preservative. It is used for preserving jams, jellies, squashes, etc. Sugar also prevents the growth of microbes and it reduces the moisture content. Using of oil and vinegar. This is again another very good method to preserve pickles and other food items. It prevents the growth of microorganisms. Next method is by heating or cooling. Heating, that means we can boil, and boiling kills the microorganisms. So at homes we always use boiled water for drinking. Cooling is another method. At low temperature, the bacterial growth or the growth of the microorganisms is reduced. The first method is refrigeration. We can keep food items in the refrigerator in a cool atmosphere. The lower temperature prevents the growth of microorganisms, thus spoilage is prevented. Milk can be preserved by a process known as pasteurization, which was discovered by Louis Pasteur. Now, what is pasteurization? Heating milk up to 70 degrees for 15 to 30 seconds and then suddenly chilling it and storing. Another method for preservation is by proper packing and storage. that is, use airtight containers, thus prevent the growth of microorganisms and spoilage by microorganisms. The last topic now is nitrogen fixation or nitrogen cycle. Now, what is this nitrogen cycle? It is the changing of nitrogen from one form to another. It is one of the biogeochemical cycles where nitrogen, which is an essential element, changes from one form to another. Nitrogen is fixed into the soil by three ways. That means atmospheric nitrogen can be fixed into the soil by three ways. One is lightning, second by nitrogen fixing bacteria, and third is by adding fertilizer to the soil. Once this nitrogen is fixed into the soil, it is converted to soluble forms of nitrogen, that is nitrates and nitrites. These nitrates and nitrites are absorbed by the roots of plants, and in the body of the plant it is converted to amino acids and proteins. These plants are eaten by herbivores and herbivores by carnivores. Both plants and animals, they undergo death and decay, and these complex organic substances are again converted to simple inorganic substances by the microorganisms, and thus it is released back into the soil. Once these are released back into the soil, these inorganic nitrates and nitrites are released back into the soil. They are converted to ammonia by ammonifying bacteria. This is then converted back into atmospheric nitrogen by a group of bacteria known as denitrifying bacteria. Thus, the percentage of nitrogen is always maintained as 78% in the atmosphere. We know the composition of air, that is oxygen is 21%, carbon dioxide is 0.03%, and nitrogen is 78%. Inert gases and water vapor form the rest. This 78% remains as such because this cycle keeps on happening in the nature. Thus, we have completed with nitrogen cycle. So, we end this chapter today. So, thus we have discussed what are microorganisms and how they are our friends and foes. Thank you.